Right now, on to the point. A guilty plea in the case rocking the state capitol.
I think it's a nail in the coffin for Becerra.
I'm not in the camp that this, kills his campaign for governor.
What's next for Newsom's former chief of staff, Dana Williamson, and her co-conspirators accused of fraud? A years-long pursuit of justice for families in the Stockton serial killer case. The new development tonight that could give a new sense of hope. Web provider Wipeout.
More people are relying on it for more things.
Why your favorite apps crashed this week and why more could be coming. And in our Champions of Hope, a game of Where's Waldo? How construction workers are brightening views for kids in the hospital.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. In his first public statements tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom says that he felt real shock and deep concern following the arrest of his former chief of staff last week. Dana Williamson is facing 23 federal charges, including fraud. There are a lot of new developments in this case involving Williamson's alleged co-conspirators. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is here to break down the alleged scandal shaking up the state capitol.
Alex, one of the co-conspirators, Sean McCluskey, just pled guilty for his role in the alleged scandal to siphon funds from a dormant campaign account belonging to Javier Becerra. McCluskey was Becerra's chief of staff at the time. The other person in this case, Greg Campbell, has reportedly closed down his lobbying business. I spoke with campaign experts on both sides of the aisle about what could happen next.
In federal court on Thursday, Sean McCluskey pled guilty for one count related to a scheme to steal funds from a dormant campaign account belonging to then U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra. McCluskey, who was Becerra's chief of staff, Dana Williamson, and Greg Campbell are accused of conspiring to steal about $225,000 from Becerra's account.
And for him to say, well, I didn't really know what it was spending, it makes him look like either an out-of-touch leader or a participant.
Becerra is not accused of any wrongdoing in this case. He says the news is a gut punch. Republican strategist Tab Berg believes this will hurt his current run for governor.
Because that shows that either he's a laissez-faire leader who doesn't care that much about the money, or he's just so sloppy that we can't really trust him to be in charge of the public purse.
Democratic strategist Andrew Acosta believes Becerra still has a chance in this race.
This was nothing Becerra could do. The person doesn't work for him. He couldn't fire him today. It's sort of done and dusted for him. Now he just has to tell the truth and move on.
When it comes to how Becerra responded, Acosta says he would have preferred more emotion.
I would hope that he'd be, forceful and maybe even a little angry about this because, these are people that have worked for him and, he had relationships with.
Alleged co-conspirator Campbell is a longtime lobbyist and owner of Campbell Strategy and Advocacy. He has reportedly closed down his business. On Thursday, his company's website shows it's no longer online. Campaign finance records with the state shows his business has been paid more than $3.3 million this year, with clients ranging from Amazon and TikTok to the city of Fresno, the Downtown Sacramento Partnership, Major League Baseball, and PG&E. Williamson was Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff. While the alleged scheme began before she became the governor's chief of staff, in a new statement, Newsom says his first reaction was real shock and deep concern, adding she was placed on leave when he learned about the investigation and, quote, I wasn't privy to any of the details as it unfolded, and this is not the kind of thing I'm used to seeing in public service. I hold our team to very high standards of ethics and accountability, and I'm still processing the seriousness of the allegations.
Williamson has already pled not guilty to her 23 federal charges. Campbell is expected to enter a guilty plea next month. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you for that update. And to continue this conversation, I want to go ahead and bring in Capitol Weekly editor-in-chief Rich Eisen. Rich, thank you so much for being here again with us so soon. Yeah. Now, we are already seeing rival candidates in the governor's race, like Antonio Villaraigosa, really leveraging this moment in ads. What potential impact do you think that this case could really have on Becerra's gubernatorial campaign, if any?
Well, I mean, it's not going to help it, that's for sure. I mean, when you're running to be the governor of the state of California, and especially what he's been running on is, that he's got these great bona fides as a leader of big things, the Department of Justice here in the state of California, the human
Health and Human Services
Health
Secretary.
and Human Services, thank you, I couldn't get it out. Those are big things. Those are, lots of employees, all that kind of thing. And then, your rivals are going to get to pound you and say, yeah, but you didn't know someone was stealing out of your account. I mean, it is going to have an impact, I think.
Questions that he's really had to answer this week.
Yeah.
How could this case affect Governor Newsom's image and also a viability as a presidential candidate, if he does decide to, in fact, run both within California and nationally? Do you think it's going to have an impact?
I think it's going to depend a little bit on what, if anything, else comes out that might, be tied to him. I think the real question is on judgment and vetting and all of those things, and I think he's going to get hammered on that a little bit. I think the thing that favors him, though, is there's still a pretty long runway between now and 2028.
Yeah.
So unless it gets demonstrably worse for him in terms of any connection to it, I think he'll probably still be okay.
Okay, and then last question here. With Governor Newsom's former chief of staff under investigation, as we've been talking about, and just yesterday, the Legislative Analyst Office, projected an $18 billion budget deficit here for California next year. Do you think that these issues are really going to follow Democrats, and do you think it's going to be a challenge for, California Democrats as, the primaries are coming up in 2026?
Affordability has been the word of the day around the Capitol for the last year or so, and that's fine, but, press conferences don't lower grocery prices or, energy bills. They're going to have to really deliver. Now, they did a little bit of this last year, but absolutely. I mean, the pocketbook is going to drive a lot of voters, and, they're the majority party. They are going to be the ones held accountable if, there's only so many things they can do, in all fairness, but they are definitely going to have to make that the focal point again in this next legislative session.
All right, Rich, as always, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And this is a story we will continue to follow. All right, now to our next story. The man accused of shooting into the ABC 10 building faced a Sacramento County judge just today. Anibal Hernandez Santana appeared with his attorney during the arraignment. He pleaded not guilty to all charges in the case, including a new state felony charge of shooting into an unoccupied building. According to the district attorney's office, Hernandez Santana fired one shot into an unoccupied business on 3rd Street near the ABC 10 building the day before he allegedly fired 3 shots into the ABC 10 building. According to the DA, he appeared to be doing a practice shoot to prepare for the ABC 10 shooting. Hernandez Santana's attorney spoke to us after the arraignment.
Obviously, we're going to be exploring issues about mental health defenses in a case like this. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that you're going to look at the issue of mental health defenses. And in California, actually, a mental health defense is a very, very viable defense in the California system, as probably everyone knows.
Hernandez Santana remains in the Sacramento County Jail. His next court date is scheduled for January 21st. Now to a development in a case that we have been covering for years. A grand jury in San Joaquin County handed down an indictment against the man of being accused of the Stockton serial killer. Wesley Brownlee appeared in court today for his arraignment on the new indictment. Brownlee was first arrested in October 2022 and originally faced 7 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Those charges came from a series of shootings between April 2021 and October 2022 in Stockton and in Oakland. The grand jury's latest indictment issued Wednesday now lists 6 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Notably, it leaves out the 2021 shooting death of Mervyn Harmon in Oakland. The district attorney's office says dropping that charge was a tactical decision.
Quite frankly, this case has been going on too long. And my office set in motion this indictment and these grand jury proceedings to expedite the justice for our victims and in our community. So by having this indictment now, we are out of the preliminary stages, and now we are ready to proceed with the trial in this matter.
But there's still a major hurdle in the case: Brownlee's competency to stand trial. At today's hearing, a doctor was reappointed to evaluate whether he is mentally fit for trial. His next court appearance is scheduled for January 26th. Still head on to the point, a major shift on America's shorelines. For the first time in decades, new offshore drilling is coming to California. What the new federal plan means for our oceans. And a major outage took down some of the biggest names online, why experts say more disruptions are likely.
And after the rain and snow that we had today, we've got a much quieter pattern ahead. Some fog in the mornings, still cool in the afternoons, but it's good timing for the holiday. I've got forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. The Justice Department is investigating possible issues with the mortgage fraud investigation into California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff. Sources say investigators were looking into the possibility there was a person who claimed to be working for 2 Trump appointees running the investigation, but was not properly deputized. Any improprieties could jeopardize the investigation. A federal judge today ordered the Trump administration to end its month-long deployment of National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. The judge says President Trump's military takeover violates the Constitution and illegally intrudes on local officials' authority. The White House argues tonight that President Trump is well within his lawful authority, calling the lawsuit another attempt to undermine the president's, quote, highly successful operations to stop violent crime in D.C. And new frame-by-frame images released today by the NTSB show the engine separating from the plane and going up and over the wing during the deadly UPS crash in Louisville, Kentucky. The plane crashed into the ground after takeoff on November 4th. 14 people were killed.
All right, some good news for skiers and snowboarders. The first Tahoe area resort is set to open tomorrow. Mount Rose announced its opening day thanks to early season storms and cold temperatures that allowed for snowmaking efforts. The resort opens at 9 a.m., so go ahead and get ready. All right, let's get things over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef with a look at our forecast. He is tracking the tail end of this storm. It was even sprinkling a little bit today, wasn't it?
Yeah, we definitely had some rain in the morning, some lighter showers as the morning went on and we rolled into the afternoon, and we still have some lingering showers out there. Had a little bit of thunderstorm roll through the Vacaville-Fairfield area earlier. That's moved out. Some rain towards Placerville, down towards Auburn and Roseville, and a little bit of snow still up near Tahoe, especially along US 50 right now. But it wasn't a particularly big storm, and that was expected. We were talking on the high end, a third of an inch to maybe half an inch, but the storm well underperformed both of those model estimates. They're picking up just over a tenth of an inch across most of the valley. Marysville closer to a quarter inch, but again, it is a little storm by November standards, and we'll always take a little bit of rain, especially as we are going through and entering the wetter part of the year. 51 in Sacramento right now, 50 in Stockton, 50 Manteca, 52 in Modesto, 48 Jackson, 43 Nevada City, and freezing up in Truckee and Tahoe at this hour. As we look at Futurecast through the evening, things are really going to continue to wind down. Still some clouds, still some snow across the high country. They're about 10, 11 o'clock tonight, but then through the overnight hours, we'll see some valley clearing and the snow will be winding down across the high country, but we will have some fog in the morning before sunshine in the afternoon on Friday. So Friday morning, some fog, offshore winds, 43 Sacramento, 45 Stockton, 47 Modesto, 26 in Truckee, and 27 in South Lake Tahoe. Here is that morning fog, but notice how it develops and then gets eaten away, especially in the Sacramento Valley. We're going to get a north wind developing, so we'll have some patchy fog for a little bit, but as that north wind picks up, that's going to eat into the fog. So I'm not expecting a lot of fog tomorrow, especially across Sacramento and the Sacramento Valley because of those north winds. Here's 1 o'clock in the morning. You see those north winds developing. So during this time, we'll likely have a little bit of fog in the Sacramento area down through the San Joaquin Valley. But by the time we get to 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, we have a pretty decent north wind developing, and that's going to eat away the fog. So patchy fog, kind of scattered fog in some cases, but because of the wind, it's really not going to last very long into the morning. 62 in Sacramento Friday afternoon, 61 in Stockton, upper 50s down in Modesto, Manteca. As we look at the foothills over the next several days, we're going to be in those upper 50s to about 60 degrees, near 50 degrees as we head in towards the weekend in the high country and across the valley. We are entering a drier stretch of weather, very consistent temperatures too, right near 60 degrees all the way into and through the Thanksgiving holiday. Alex?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, for the first time in decades, new oil drilling is coming to the California coastline, while the move is sparking a political firestorm and environmental backlash. And a construction zone with a heart and a surprise visitor. Why Waldo is popping up outside Sacramento hospitals, bringing smiles to patients and staff. Welcome back in. For the first time in decades, oil drilling could start along the California and Florida coastlines. Today, the Interior Department released a new 5-year drilling plan. The oil industry has been looking for access to new offshore areas, including Southern California, as a way to boost U.S. energy security and jobs. The federal government has not allowed drilling in federal waters in the eastern Gulf of Mexico since 1995 because of concerns of oil spills. California has some offshore oil rigs, but there have been no new leasing in federal waters since the mid-1980s. Environmental groups and California officials call the move a threat to marine life and coastal economies. Today, several Democratic lawmakers spoke out against the drilling plan.
We'd love to have some Republicans working with us. But, Donald Trump was very strategic in the way he rolled this out. He picked Democratic areas to bear the brunt of this risk of catastrophic oil spills.
The Trump administration's plan also proposes an auction of federal waters along almost all of Alaska's coastline at the end of the decade and into the early 2030s. Excuse me. Well, mixed results tonight from the long-delayed September jobs report. The report was delayed because of the government shutdown. The U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs in September, an unexpected rebound for the labor market. But unemployment rose 4.4%, a nearly four-year high. The report also showed the ongoing effects of cuts to the federal workforce. About 3,000 government jobs were lost in September, the 8th straight month of losses just in that sector. And you may have noticed trouble with your favorite websites this week, and you are not alone. Web infrastructure provider Cloudflare experienced a disruption on Tuesday that temporarily impacted a number of online services. Reporter Lee Waldman has a closer look at exactly what happened.
Some of the internet's most trusted brands and most used services went down.
Tuesday's 3-hour Cloudflare disruption was likely a shock to many. From DoorDash to Uber, even President Donald Trump's Truth Social platform, they all experienced an internet outage.
Cloudflare did drop the ball on this, but mistakes do happen, right, in life, in business.
In a statement, Cloudflare says the outage was a result of a technical issue, not a cyber attack or malicious behavior. It's the latest in a string of recent outages. Amazon Web Services was hit last month, and a few days later, Microsoft's Azure service went down. Jason Heiner with ZDNet says outages like these are to be expected.
More people are using the internet. More people are using it more often than ever. More people are relying on it for more things. And so we all are also more aware every time there's any kind of blip, right? And I expect that will only increase.
While it might seem like these outages are happening more often, that's not necessarily the case. Cisco Thousand Eyes, a network monitoring service, has logged 13 major outages so far in 2025. That compares to 23 in 2024, 13 in 2023, and 10 the year prior. Although these outages are inconvenient, you can expect them to keep happening.
It's one of the challenges when you work in technology. Nobody applauds you for the fact that the site never went down or continues working or it works great, right? They only notice if there's any blip that it doesn't work.
Coming up, our champions of hope, how construction workers are lifting spirits and bringing smiles to children in the hospital. From neighbors helping neighbors to inspiring acts of kindness, tonight's champions of hope are construction workers near Shriners Children's Hospital and UC Davis Medical Center. There is a lot of construction happening in this part of East Sacramento, but if you look up, there's something else that you might see. This guy, do you remember him? Yep, there's Waldo. Well, he has been roaming the construction site, seeing if patients at both hospitals can spot him. McCarthy Building Companies wanted to make sure that everyone could play along, so get this, they even dropped off some books and flyers at both hospitals.
We're happy and excited that we can bring some sort of joy into their lives as they're going through their healing journey and process. We are not only a healthcare builder, we're a community builder as well. We don't only care about the impacts that we have on the project site, but we care about the impact that we have within the communities and the neighborhoods that we're working in. So it was important for us to connect.
There will be plenty of time to find Waldo because construction will be happening until 2030. The company also telling us that they plan on letting Waldo wander the halls even when the walls go up. So make sure you keep your eye out because you might even see him through a window. Too cute. All right, as always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. And if you've had an extremely long week like me, I hope you do something relaxing tonight. But I'll see you right back here on Friday, same time, same place. Have a good night.